What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Tesla stock, ticker symbol TSLA, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Friday, May 31st. All right, guys, Tesla stock today up $2.60 per share. That's plus 1.48% in regular trading hours. Essentially flat, down a little bit after hours. Take it with a grain of salt. Volume is going to be very low. Let's take a look at Tesla here today and pull out as much bias as we can to get the best image possible, best look heading into tomorrow that the market's willing to provide us here by really digging through the data. We're going to look at the volume profile, the psychological levels. A lot of trades are going to be making, or a lot of traders, I should say, making decisions around those levels, so important to be aware of. Implied volatility, the expected move for tomorrow, and the directional bias coming out of the chain for tomorrow. So let's get started with our volume profile analysis here on the 5-minute chart. By the way, hey, if you're new here, welcome. Tesla is a daily upload, so please subscribe to the channel. My goal here is 10,000. We're starting to get very, very close. So I appreciate that, and I will keep the Tesla videos coming in return. Now, if we take a look under the hood here at Tesla's volume profile, let's take a peek. You can see contextual high volume open. Typically what we see is a quick fade off in volume. We didn't see that today. We actually saw volume hold on with, what is that, 7? It looks like 7 consecutive green bars. That's bullish bias, guys. This is out of context, especially these 5 bars here. That's unusual. You typically see volume tank off, kind of like if you follow the mouse. That's typically what it looks like a lot more. So that's a little bit of bullish bias off the open. However, we interestingly saw a little bit of bearish bias pick up, particularly on these 3 bars and then these 2 that followed on the pullback. Not quite to the same degree as off the open. However, we also expect volume to be a little bit lower at the period of the red bars, right, compared to the period of the green bars. So I'm going to go ahead and say that those two contextually kind of cancel each other out today. But something I want to show you guys is that you can see the green move was smaller than the red move because we ended up net negative. So these two moves are not necessarily created equal. Even though the volume profile kind of canceled each other out, we still saw the pullback a little bit larger. Okay, so it's important to understand that these need to be looked at as kind of two separate entities that can support each other. And since what we're really doing here is looking at the volume profile, you know, bears, being that you guys had the bigger move, it would have been more ideal, I think, to see a little bit more heavy bearish bias rather than just a cancel out of each other. So bulls, you know, given the price movement, we already know what happened. Digging a little deeper, looking under the hood, not the worst thing we could see here today, just canceling out on a net negative move. Through the rest of the day, very contextual. All these pops are too risky to assign anything to. And then this big doji bar, that's why it's white there. You can see no movement on the bar aside from some wicks during the candle. That's rebalancing, so we tend to ignore that one. Now, let's move on. Let's take a look at the psychological self-fulfilling prophecy levels. A lot of decisions going to be made around these levels here tomorrow, so we got to be aware of them. So if you guys were here for yesterday's video, again, if you're new, no big deal. We were talking a lot about how trying to reclaim, well, yesterday, first of all, we had reclaimed the 50 period, the white line. Okay, the gray line's the 200 period, just for context. And that was great. We had reclaimed one, and we were looking to bounce off the 50, at least bulls were, and reclaim the 200 period, whereas bears wanted to see a break back downside below the 50. Well, today we opened higher, and this is, see guys, this is actually beautiful. I love a day like today if we're looking at this with a bullish perspective. Because in the pre-market, we made that move. Look at the volume, super low. Okay, I wanted to see a retest. We tested the 200 off the open, bounced, came in, retest. It was a little sloppy, granted, but we retested the 50, bounced back up, and held both into the close. We tested both moving averages here on the 30-minute chart, held them both, at least by the end of it all, into the close. That's beautiful, but we're not out of the woods, right? So bulls, tomorrow, here's what we're looking for. I want to see ideally the 50 period get dragged upside through and above the 200 period just to keep the quicker moving one closer to the stock. And then I want to see the 50 period become support. That would put us in a position where the stock is above both. It goes stock highest and then 50 and then 200 below both of those. Whereas bears, for you guys, if you could see a downside tear through both of those in one move on big volume ideally, come back up, retest whichever moving average happens to be lower at the time on lower volume, and then reject off of that one, ideally the 50 period, right? On higher volume, you get that break, retest, high volume confirmation. Bears, that's your best case scenario here tomorrow on the 30. Now, if we take a look at the 4-hour chart, a beautiful 4-hour chart today. If you're a bull, yesterday we rejected hard off the 50 period, and today was kind of the day that we wanted to see that break and hold. We saw that, guys. We broke it pre-market, retested it intraday, which is great, on more volume, and then we bounced into the close. All right, a reclaim of that 50 is great to see on the 4-hour bulls. If we retest that 50 here tomorrow, gonna want to see that hold as support, as kind of a secondary confirmation. Whereas bears, if you guys could rip down beneath there as early in the day as possible, ideally, and then hold beneath the 50, ideally treating that as resistance upon any retests through until the close, that's your guys' best case scenario, because ideally you want to get beneath both of these on as many charts as possible. Well, on the 4-hour, that starts with breaking the 50 to the downside. Now, the most important chart of all, guys, is going to be the daily. We are a little ways away from a retest of the 50, about 4%. So that's a pretty big move for Tesla. It's not, we've seen, bigger moves, of course. Any retest, of course, bulls, we don't want to give that up. But I think the real story here, you guys notice that we've been struggling with 180 as of late in the last month or so. Even if you go back further, this has been a level of interest for a while now. 180, I think, is the real story. Okay, we've been talking about that a little bit as of late. Bulls, if we could break and hold 180, reclaiming, or I suppose, reclaiming that as support, beautiful. Just another stair step in what is hopefully a long stair-stepping journey to the upside if you're a bull. Whereas bears, ideally you want to reject anything the closest psychological level possible. In this case, that happens to be 180. So bears, you want to reject 180 because ideally your goal is in the future is get back down beneath the 50-day. Now, implied volatility, very important if you're an options trader. Up again today. In comparison to the last week, it is now quite high. In comparison to the last month, I would say we're pretty high actually. Okay, because the vast majority of the last month has been spent below where we currently are. And in comparison to the last 3 months, we're currently now in the mid-range. Now, expected move here for tomorrow. It's Thursday. Thursdays are easy because we have an expiration tomorrow, so the market just tells us. We don't have to do any educated guesswork. The expected move by tomorrow's close compared to today's close is plus or minus $4.24 per share. That's the one standard deviation expected volatility currently being priced in by the market for tomorrow. And directional bias, if we take a look at volume, we have 2.27 million total contracts traded today. Great sample size. 1.45 million of those were calls and 816,000 were puts. That's a relatively heavy bullish bias on the overall call put ratio. But I want to break that down by short-term speculators because this video is primarily geared toward tomorrow, right? Let's look at the 0 to 20 delta range. 604,000 calls, 304,000 puts. Heavy bullish bias out of the short-term speculators here today as well on Tesla as we head into tomorrow. Guys, it's coming down to the wire. If you would like to get grandfathered in at the lowest rate that we're going to see here, because the price is going up soon for the private community, take a look at that link in the pinned comment. That'll get you grandfathered in at the current rate, so you stay at this price point as the price goes up here in the near future, the very near future now. In there, I'm sending out daily scalp setup alerts, in-play stock alerts, unusual options activity, and working with my Platinum one-on-one students. Hope to see you inside. If you appreciate the daily Tesla videos, please leave a like on the video, and then get out of here and enjoy your day. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.